It happened! Germany and Elon Musk finally reveal new plan to beat Russia. Elon Musk comes out and explains why European nations need to improve their nuclear potential, and Elon says Russia has a very important political weapon that needs to be stopped immediately. Explained. According to Musk, the situation is getting worse day by day, and European countries are not doing enough and want to change that. This is a very complicated situation, so let me explain. He has continued to participate in international affairs since Russia invaded Ukraine on February 24th. As a result of this war, NATO imposed sanctions on Russia. The EU pledged in March to cut gas imports from Russia by 2/3 by the end of the year. The Nord Stream 1 direct gas pipeline linking Russia with Europe has been closed for 10 days for routine repairs. Germany is the continent's largest and most important economy, serving as a pipeline terminal and a hub for gas transportation to the rest of Europe. There's a particularly strong fear that President Vladimir Putin will not turn the gas back on to demonstrate his political maneuvering with countries opposing Russia's aggression in Ukraine. In response, President Vladimir Putin decided to cut gas exports from Russia by 40%, provoking a gas crisis. Germany, Europe's largest economy, sources about half of its gas from Russia, so given that it is home to international companies such as Mercedes-Benz, Volkswagen, and Siemens, it is not surprising that this gas war has raised the question of the country's energy independence. The extension of Germany's 3 remaining nuclear power plants that must be closed was taboo until last month when Germany's pro-business finance minister Christian Lindner broke it. Demanded to be released from, Musk believes nuclear power plants should continue to operate. Besides getting through the winter, it's also important to maintain the country's energy security over the next 3 to 5 years, when gas becomes even scarcer, Lindner said. Friedrich Merz, chairman of the CDU, Germany's largest opposition party, supports this view, although Angela He never forgives Merkel for leaving the nuclear age prematurely. The Liberal Democratic Party, the Green Party, and the Liberal Party have formed a coalition government, and the biggest issue is whether to expand nuclear power generation. The latter has strong ties with companies and has a history of being a strong supporter of nuclear power. On the other hand, one of his core beliefs in the Green Party is to oppose this energy. In Germany, over the last decade on energy issues, cheaper Russian gas, considered less polluting than coal and much safer in supply, is the best way to transport the transition from nuclear to coal. A consensus was reached. Expansion of renewable energy. Elon Musk sees no need to argue that Germany must continue to operate its current nuclear facilities. The country will pay the price and regain control. The entrepreneur who set up the first European Tesla factory in Germany in March announced this in a reply to a tweet containing a link to a video in which representatives of the company that operates nuclear power plants in Germany claim that the continued operation of the power plant will be fine and only government approval is required. The German government had already begun extending the operation of the last factory when the Ukraine conflict began. However, the concept of its use was opposed by the ecologist's Minister of Economy and Environment on the grounds that the legal and technical risks outweighed the expected benefits. Prime Minister Olaf Scholz shares this view and supports the expansion of renewable energy sources, believing that only renewable sources can achieve true energy independence for the country. Few analysts dispute the fact that the last nuclear power plant expansion will come with some challenges. Lack of legal basis is the first challenge, and a hasty extension would require major revisions to existing rules and laws. The second problem is fuel, which often takes him 12 to 18 months to get. Russia is also one of the country's major suppliers. It may take months to assess the safety of the remaining reactors. Experts say the resulting energy benefits are probably modest. In Germany, only 6% of electricity is generated by nuclear energy. The country's heating problem is more serious than its energy problem. 1/3 of the primary energy consumed in the country is ensured by gas directly for heating buildings and factories. Like chemical production, a short-term conversion of these processes to electricity is inconceivable. That is why the Berlin energy minister called on everyone to return to consumption. A gas crisis has been declared in Berlin, prompting the activation of an emergency energy plan his thermostat has already shut down. Hot water is limited, swimming pools are closed, the air conditioning is turned off, streetlights dim, recommended by landlords, schools, and local authorities, where cold showers are taken. German analysts predicted an imminent recession. Government officials are rushing to bail out Juniper, the country's biggest buyer of Russian gas. Politicians also warned that Germany's social peace could collapse. The situation has not only led to a rush to avoid what could have been a serious crisis this winter, but it has also led to an economic structure that has made Germany a world power and has generated enormous wealth for decades. Also decided to try almost all European countries are grappling with slowing growth, rising costs, and potentially severe energy shortages. The European Commission has cut its growth rate estimate to 2 this year, 7 on Thursday. The euro has fallen below the dollar this week, signaling recession fears. Russia's invasion of Ukraine has had global ramifications, exacerbating the stock market's woes. Gas prices have skyrocketed, and product shortages have increased as a result of the conflict, forcing Europe to reassess its dependence on Russia. More than any other country in the region, Germany's economy requires a large amount of fuel, 2/3 of which is imported by a huge industry that includes powerful manufacturers of chemicals, automobiles, glass, and steel. Based on the chemical and pharmaceutical industries alone, consume 27% of the country's gas. Most of these came directly from Russia during the 5 months leading up to Putin's invasion of Ukraine, which sparked retaliatory sanctions from the European Union. The United States and its ally Russia supplied her with more than 55% of Germany's gas imports and more than 40% of its oil imports. Russia's gas monopoly cut supplies in June, and if it drops further, German companies could soon face fuel shortages and be forced to limit production. He said that he did not expect many European countries to face a similar situation. Until the ongoing renewable energy transition is further completed, the country will be under severe pressure over the next 5 to 8 years. He noted that Germany's economy is still fueled by fossil fuels at this point. In addition to high gas and oil costs and a difficult energy transition, there are other problems. Exports produced commodities that accounted for most of Germany's income, but German production and exports were already sluggish even before the conflict, and China's growth has slowed now that Germany's biggest trading partner, China, reported on Friday that its economy grew just 0.4% in the second quarter. The rate is expected to be much higher over the past decade. This slowdown could spill over to other developing countries in Asia, slowing their development as well. Beijing has created industrial manufacturers and at the same time turned former customers and partners of German companies into future rivals. A changing environment poses important questions. Be whether an economy based on energy-intensive business is viable when fuel is very expensive. Canon's export-focused strategy may succeed when major trading partners are subject to sanctions and countries recognize the security threats of global trade. Some economists argue that cheap Russian gas is not as cheap as it first appeared, and that the German business model was partly based on faulty assumptions. Labor market policies will also have an impact. The industry collective bargaining agreement will be negotiated on September 3rd with 9 million members. IG Metall is demanding an 8% pay rise, and a new minimum wage law on October 1st will set the national hourly wage at 12 euros for the first time. Supply chain outages are a problem right now, and companies just starting to recover from the COVID-19 outbreak are busy making contingency plans for gas shortages.